The time is just gone 17 minutes past 9 a.m. And this interview is coming to you live from our studios. You can actually log on to Facebook and on Salam Media's page. You can view proceedings live. We have got Jihan Kaisi, International Humanitarian Representative of Africa Muslim Agency in Lebanon. And she is in South Africa. She normally comes to South Africa at this time of the year. We also have got Hafiz Hussein Chunar from Africa Muslim Agency with us in studio this morning. Sister Jihan, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Thank you. I'm really so excited to be here again after 2 years to be with my beloved friends here in South Africa.
Yes, and also Hafiz Hussein, Assalamu alaikum to you.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shukran for having us on this morning.
Yes, now obviously in the interest of time, I'm going to go straight into the discussion and what we want to talk about. And I must say, welcome back to South Africa. It was lovely meeting you, I think, about 2 years ago when you were in South Africa. And let's just talk about the humanitarian work that you're doing, because you are representing Africa Muslim Agency out in Lebanon. And just to give us a bit of a brief background about yourself, your involvement in humanitarian activities.
Yes. First of all, I don't call it work. It's not a humanitarian work for me. It's a humanitarian life. It's everything in my life. It has been now 22 years. I have been in this amazing humanitarian journey, and I'm still so passionate about it. Every day, it's a new day for me. It's a new day of making a difference in the life of so many human beings all around. And actually, I studied journalism to be a famous journalist one day, and a 13-year-old Palestinian girl changed my life and made me switch from journalism to humanitarian because of a dream that we all tried to make it come true, because she used to dream about food, to draw food and imagine she's eating it, and she changed me to what I am right now.
Well, I must say, it takes special people to do special work. And I think this is where, you're saying you don't call it work, because this is part and parcel of your life, because you've got the passion, you've got the desire to do what you are doing. And I think more importantly, for the benefit of humanity and to make a huge difference in the lives of people.
Yes, exactly. And I feel I'm so lucky because Allah chose me. Allah chose me to be in this because I did not get married. I don't have kids, but I have big number of orphans who call me mom. So I just feel lucky being in all this.
Yes. Now, obviously, I just want to bring up Hussein in. I know, obviously, Sister Jihan, fresh from her travels and straight to Salam Media. And obviously, we are honored that, you've come through to our studios, and also looking at, having Sister Jihan as part of the Africa Muslim Agency team. It's important. It's very, very important, because you are represented in many, many countries. And we're going to be talking about, more than a meal campaign as well, 14 countries. But it's important to have people representing you in various countries that understand the dynamics and what is actually playing out in those countries.
Absolutely, Uncle Inaayet, you're quite right. And having a person like a dynamic human being like Jihan, who is 22 years of humanitarian life. And if you know Jihan, it's not sitting at the office. Jihan is sitting in a refugee tent, mixing it with the orphans and the widows, knowing the people by name, taking an interest, a vested interest in their life, ensuring that the donors' needs are fulfilled, but also ensuring that the projects that are being carried out are sustainable and empowerment projects that uplifts the standard of life for the people that she's serving.
Well, certainly. Now, let's talk about the situation on the ground, because I'm sure you've got lots and lots of, in the last 20 odd years, obviously a lot to share with us. The situation on the ground, your personal experiences, because I think, sometimes we forget that there is a human being behind the effort, behind the humanitarian effort. And I'm sure with you, Sister Jihan, many, many personal experiences.
Yes. I have a lot of experiences, and I always say that every day I learn from every experience, and it's like an added value to my life. But as a situation back in Lebanon, mainly in the refugee camps, we can say that this day, the situation is the worst because Lebanon is suffering from economic crisis, protests, revolution. There is a starvation crisis here in Lebanon. To everyone living in Lebanon, Lebanese and refugees. And in Lebanon we have 500,000 Palestinian refugees and 1.5 million Syrian refugees in a country of 4 million Lebanese. So we are talking about half of the population are refugees. The situation there, you can say with the corona and lockdown as well, refugees suffer a lot, and their basic need is food. I remember we were distributing for them hygiene kits. They said, we don't want hygiene kits. We will not die from corona. If we die from corona, it's okay. But we will die from starvation because we really need food. We need bread. Situation there, extremely miserable. You are talking about elderly that can't get their medicine. And last week when we were with the ladies delegation who came to Lebanon from South Africa, we hosted 13 ladies delegation. On our way in one of the camps in Arsal, one of the elderly ladies, they asked her what she dreams. She said, I just dream to have orange. We got her an orange and she ate it immediately. Imagine, she's an elderly woman and her only dream is to go back to Syria and be buried in Syria because she's very sick and she's afraid to die in Lebanon. We have a lot of orphans who have no mom, no dad. We have patients who can't get one of the families that got sponsored recently, about 5 orphans whose dad died because the hospital did not give him medical treatment because he couldn't afford. So situation, whatever I say, I can talk till morning about stories happening in the camps. It's simple life. They just want to live in a dignified life. They are asking only for food, for medicine, and for proper shelter.
Yes, and I'm sure that, obviously we know that there are a few events that are going to be across the country, and you will be sharing a lot of those stories, when you address these events over the next few weeks, inshallah. But I think what is also important to understand is, and this is a point I made last week with the ladies delegation that went out, and I said, it's actually very, very difficult not to be emotional when you see the situation on the ground. And I'm sure, every experience when you go into those camps is an emotional experience for you as well.
Yes, exactly. And I would like to share one experience happened also last week. I was with a delegation in Arsal. Arsal is an area in the borders between Lebanon and Syria, and it's full of refugee camps living in tents. When I was leaving one of the camps, a little orphan, her name is Marwa, was running to me and giving me a small gift. A small gift with a heart, and it's written on it, Mama Jihan. It's when I was leaving, I didn't want to visit because I was busy. So when I saw this little girl who has no mom, no dad, she's an orphan, I went to her tent with the delegation, and she told me there are 4 girls, the Marwa and her 3 sisters. They told me, we made this gift for you special on Mother's Day, but you did not come, and we want you to take it because we made it by our hands. I lost my mom recently, and on Mother's Day I was on her grave crying and feeling desperate. I did not think of others, and I felt ashamed of myself. I was supposed to go to refugee camps and go to orphans because they need me, and maybe if I was with them on that day, I will feel happy, making them happy instead of feeling sad for my mom. So I felt ashamed because they made it for me and they wanted me to be, because they call me a mother. They lost their mother and they lost their father, and I'm like because we don't feel the impact we have on every day. I meet a big number of refugees. So this family, I visited her several times, and the impact I had on this family, I did not feel it, but they feel it because they remember me as their mother, and they consider me as their mother, and they need that attention.
Yes, Now, obviously, I was saying, we've been crossing over the last few weeks to AMA. We've crossed over to your delegations in Lebanon, in Afghanistan, in Zimbabwe last week as well. And this More Than a Meals campaign, obviously, it's a huge campaign. It's a massive campaign because we're talking about millions of meals across 14 countries. And, if we could just tell us a bit more about why this is so important, and particularly in view of what Sister Jihan is saying, what is happening in the camps.
Exactly what Sister Jihan said. She mentioned the words dignity. And that's what More Than a Meal is. More Than a Meal is more than just food. Because what does food mean to a mother in the mountain of Afghanistan who, if she does not have food, is open up to abuse? What does it mean for a child in a refugee camp who, if they do not have food, literally starve? Can you imagine your child having the pangs of hunger in the gut the whole day, and as a parent not being able to remove that hunger? Or in South Africa, or in Africa. So the More Than a Meal campaigns provides dignity, safety, nourishment in South Africa, Lesotho, Zimbabwe, across Mozambique, Malawi, Palestine, Syria, Yemen, Afghanistan, Burma as well. In 14 countries with an absolute dire need. In Africa, what that means simply is that water allows children to receive an education because children no longer have to walk kilometers in search of food and water. So that's what More Than a Meal is. It is so much more. It allows a child to be a child, not to worry about hunger. It allows the mind to think. It gives hope. It allows people to dream, because when you ask the child, what is your dream? They don't talk about the lavish things they're calling out. They talk about peanuts and cheese, stuff that you and I overlook. That's their dream.
Well, certainly. Now, obviously, in terms of fulfilling the dream, we've got Sister Jihan here, the events that are taking place. And tonight, I think there is an event in my part of the world, in Benoni.
Absolutely, and we're looking forward to seeing you, Uncle Inaayet, at
Inshallah.
Marinado's restaurant. Limited seating, so anybody still listening, few seats left. Go to AMA Africa Muslims Agency social media pages. Sister Jihan and the delegation will be sharing feedback of the More Than a Meal campaign to the people who are attending at Marinado's this evening.
Yes, and I've just been handed, in fact, a piece of paper with regards to something taking place on Sunday as well. The 11th, Aussie's Kitchen.
11th is Aussie's Kitchen. It's a brunch. Again, limited seating, a few seats left. Go to Africa Muslims Agency. The contact details are there. Reserve your seats. Tomorrow, Sister Jihan will be in Polokwane, giving feedback to the community of Polokwane. Again, reach out to the people there in Polokwane to attend. We'll have a life-size exhibition where people can be able to sit in the refugee tent and see, not only hear, but feel the experience. So events are happening around the country. Go to Africa Muslims Agency and find out how you can attend the More Than a Meal events.
Well, Sister Jihan, obviously your message to our listeners this morning and the donor community of South Africa, because you are in the camp, you know what the situation is on the ground, and what sort of message would you send to our listeners and the donor community?
Actually, I just want to say, if they can support refugees as much as they can among the campaign More Than a Meal, because as Brother Hussein said, it's not just about food, it's about dignity. When we offer them food, mainly in Ramadan, we make sure that the woman will not be abused. We make sure that the children will go back to school instead of going to work in order to bring bread. We will make sure that the orphans and the elderly and the patients, all of them will live at least during the month of Ramadan in a dignified way. So as I said, we feel the experience as delegations came and they felt the experience, and they got a close approach about how refugees live. And here I want to value every delegation coming from South Africa, because they come with pure heart, with love, with kind-hearted. And the women and the children told us in the camps, it's not about just the food. It's about you being there, listening to us, hearing us, playing with us, smiling to us. It's this what matters. This is at the end. Maybe the delegations left back their home, but the refugees still have the impact of their smiles and their listening and their love and support.
Well, Sister Jihan, I must say Jazakallah to you, and I know a huge sacrifice just coming into the country, coming straight to Salam Media. We honored, we appreciate your time with us. Final thoughts?
Uncle Inayet, shukr for having us on Salam Media last few days before Ramadan. We want to thank the donors for their continuous support, but encourage them in these last few days for people to eat in Ramadan. We need your support. We need your donations. Donate to Feed a Village or any amount. So people in Ramadan, when we're sitting at our iftar tables, that we know that someone in a refugee camp can also break their fast with appropriate meals, just like you and I would have.
Well, inshallah,
Shukran.
well, jazakallah to you as well. And to everyone at Africa Muslim Agency, I must say, since, the last year, I always use one Ramadan to the next. And really, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an honor, obviously, linking up with AMA during the last year, the various projects that you have undertaken as well. Allah make it easy. Allah grant each and every one of you barakah, inshallah.
And you as well, Uncle Inayet.
Have a wonderful Ramadan, inshallah. Ramadan Mubarak.
Taqabbal Allah. Shukran, Uncle Inayet.
Well, that brings us straight on to 9:34 a.m. We still have got another in-studio interview coming through this morning, and we'll be joined by Yasmin Karut, Palestinian youth activist and student.
Discover the Africa of your dreams and surround yourself